Hello everyone. Before I get on the parkway, I decided I would stop in my favorite parking lot, which is the Barnes & Noble parking lot. It's weirdly comforting to me. I love being around books. I've always found that super comforting. And I always like being in this shopping plaza for that reason. There's just something I find comforting and familiar about it. So today I kind of wanted to talk about why the brains of chronic pain patients often keep them in this state of fear and what's going on there. And so I actually just completed today one of the best courses in the entire universe. Like, it was so comforting to me and it was fun to take. And after you've been through this stuff yourself, just being surrounded by people in this field who kind of study it and are trying to help others is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I officially completed my pain reprocessing therapy course. It was great. And got certified in pain reprocessing therapy. I think I have to fill out the final evaluations and then I will be certified. And so this was actually a topic that they did a fantastic job covering, and that I figured I would try and just briefly cover a bit here in case it's helpful. So the brain is gravitating towards a place that is keeping a patient in this state of fear. What we learned in the course is just because it's familiar to the brain. And so today, actually, when I was driving to the Dunkin' Donuts with the most impeccable customer service in the entire universe, I had a terrifying experience. I had my windows of the car open, and the most giant insect I have ever seen in my entire life flew through the window. This is a true story. It happened right before I was gonna log on to this course. So I was going to get my coffee and then I was gonna drive home to log on to the course. And this giant insect flew into the car. It landed on my leg and I screamed at first. I was like, it's terrifying. And then I had to brush it off, but I knew it was kind of still in the vicinity somewhere, which was very scary. And then I knew I was kind of just laughing in the car to myself. I just kept laughing because I knew that was kind of gonna taper down my fear, instead of if I kept being like, oh my God, where is it? Where is it? And eventually I was able, once I pulled over, to get it out of the car. It went on its little merry way. But using that as an example, I think what happens when we're in states of chronic pain or even symptoms, what happens is we may get a symptom once or something may pop up. And then even if it's not necessarily, everything is okay now, our brains are still reacting every time we're doing a certain action or just really still thinking about it. Our brains are reacting as if that symptom is still popping up, if that makes sense. So it's like continuing to look for it, and it's fearful, and it's going to keep searching for it because it caused us so much fear once before. Another example I was thinking of is, I think actually in the course last week, they had used like a Chucky the Doll reference, which is wonderful because I just find that whole movie hilarious. My mom and I actually have like Chucky sweatshirts that we've worn together on a vacation we'd gone on. Anyways, and so also when your brain is in a state of chronic pain, etc., it would be as if maybe one time when you open the door to your home, Chucky the doll was standing there with his little knife and popping out at you. And that caused you to be in this like major state of fear. And you were very afraid that Chucky is standing there in his little overalls with his knife when you're just trying to walk in the door to your home. And so, for example, if maybe you're navigating, I know the most common example is back pain, but it could be anything. As you know, I had the throat stuff, and it was in my face and everywhere. But imagine if, you bent over once and you experience this like excruciating thing, which is coming from the brain. But then the next time you're bending over again, your brain is reacting as if, the symptom is Chucky standing there with his little knife and his overalls. And then that's kind of how it gets into this repetitive cycle of fearing bending over or fearing even the physical sensation itself. And so the good news is, once you start teaching your brain again that you're safe, so if you were maybe to take a deep breath each time before you bent over, or just anything you find comforting, you're teaching your brain that it's safe to bend over again. So even if you were to learn that Chucky moved away to another planet with like the bride of Chucky, and he was never going to come back again, but your brain doesn't know that, and so you're still really fearful of walking in your front door because you're expecting this thing to pop out. So you would want to reassure your brain that everything is safe now, that you're okay, and that it's something you don't have to worry about anymore. Hopefully this metaphor is kind of making sense. I know it's a bit scattered, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So your brain is just reacting in certain ways because certain habits become very familiar, or behavioral patterns. So we learned a lot about this thanks to the people teaching the course, which was awesome. And so just like, coming to this parking lot was a source of familiarity for me. Even sometimes the patterns such as feeling anger or guilt or shame, they talked about how that can even become just something that's familiar to the brain. And so I think a lot of Dr. Joe's book, like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and you can start to change those patterns, ultimately to start kind of teaching your brain that you're safe again, because you are. So we'll talk a little more about that and kind of delve into this a bit more in the future. But just remember that a lot of the stuff you're experiencing, it's just a matter of sometimes shifting our habits a bit to just once again teach our brain safety in various ways, whether it is taking that deep breath or anything else that you might find comforting. And it's kind of funny I'm using this Chucky analogy because I used to refer to like my alter ego, or like the ego, as Chucky. So it's kind of fun to be like, Chucky isn't happy right now, or like Chucky's hungry, or Chucky doesn't like this. Anyways, this is kind of a detour, but sometimes that little like voice that pops in the head as we're going through this stuff, like, oh, yeah, go have the extra cookie or whatever it is. I'd be like, oh, Chucky wants the extra cookie, to label kind of like the ego or the thoughts in our head. That's a bit of a detour there. But just to say, this week, maybe just start noticing some of the patterns that your brain is engaging in, just because for a long time, when you're about to do a certain action, whether it's lying in a certain position or even like going to a certain place or doing a certain type of exercise, or, sitting, standing, whatever it is, just start kind of observing the ways that your brain might be reacting as if little Chucky is there, and seeing ways that you can kind of soothe that little primitive brain that just needs some safety, and to know that actually everything is okay. So that's kind of the spiel for today. Yeah, what are some places in your life where you notice like Chucky popping out at you? Meaning, like, are there certain actions that you engage in that are especially scary, whether, like I said, it's sitting or driving, or it could really be anything? And what are some ways you can maybe start to soothe that? I would be curious to hear what you guys think. But yeah, I should definitely, once again, give all the credit for this kind of topic, absolutely, to the pain reprocessing course I took with Alan Gordon and Daniel Lineman, and other wonderful people who are part of that course. So yeah, it's just kind of helpful to start thinking about a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna head off to this bachelorette party now. And yeah, keep me posted. Write down in the comments below just some places you're noticing this in your own life. And as always, I'm just really, really proud of you guys. I know it's not always, I know that it could be really challenging to navigate this stuff and to overcome it, and how much work sometimes that can take. But I know that you're gonna get there. I know that you're gonna do it and you're gonna feel better. And know also that it's normal if it's taking time. That is very, very, very normal as well. But you are gonna get there. So, all right, guys, I'll show you, let's see this, if you could see, 1 second. I'll show you this little number for the drive there, and then this will be for dinner tonight, what I think what I'm gonna wear. Okay, this is the worst angle known to man, but I found these pants yesterday on sale for $26, which is very exciting. I realized I had no conclusion to my video because I was so busy talking about my pants, and I've just passed these guys and it's one of the best things I've ever seen, so I'm going to include this. But in conclusion, I am really proud of you all. And I really want to buy a megaphone because I would love to shout it from the rooftops that if your thoughts are telling you that you're not going to get better, or that you're different, or that everyone else can recover and not you, they're lying to you. And sometimes something we can kind of do when that's happening, taking you on a little tour here, is almost to just sarcastically respond to those thoughts like, yeah, you're right, brain. I'll probably never get better, and I'm gonna live a miserable life forever and ever and just be tortured to death, but do it in a sarcastic way or whatever is making you laugh. Like, even if you're experiencing a symptom, being like, oh, you're back again, so glad to see you, but again in such a way that it's making you laugh rather than dreading the symptom. And I'll give one last metaphor. So say, for example, you're terrified of Raisin Bran bagels. I personally didn't mind those growing up, but say that's your fear. And then you're out somewhere and a Raisin Bran bagel just flies out of the sky and lands on you in a certain area, and it causes you such terror that you never want to go back to that same area again. And you can't stop thinking of the place that this bagel landed on you. Even though no more Raisin Bran bagels are going to be falling out of the sky anymore ever again, you're still kind of anticipating this happening and fearing it. And so that's what happens a lot of times with chronic pain or symptoms. Certain actions that the brain becomes afraid of, whether it's sitting or walking or bending over or walking on hardwood floors versus a carpet, it could be anything. Your brain is just still fearing those actions because you're associating thoughts and emotions such as fear or frustration or anger with both those actions and just things, you've done so repetitively over and over that it almost becomes a habit. But the best news ever is that we can start to break those habits and make new things familiar to the brain, such as a sense of calm or peace, or just doing things that bring us joy in our day. I know that this stuff is really challenging when we're going through it, but I also know that all of you guys are going to get better. You're going to feel better. And that you should be so proud of yourself for what you're doing every day to be working towards that point. All right, guys, I will leave this off here. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. And I hope to talk to you guys really soon. You're doing amazing. All right, talk to you later.